Hi there and welcome back. You're with Terry from Bonsai Tree, and today I've got a customer's Japanese black pine in the workshop and I'm going to be giving it a first styling. If you find the following content helpful, then you can thank me by clicking the thanks button just below the video. This tree is a fairly new import from Japan. It was imported by myself and then purchased by the customer, and then in spring we took the opportunity to do the repotting. Because it was repotted, we did not decandle it in the summer and instead allowed the tree just to grow. The best time to perform the work that I'm about to demonstrate to you is in early autumn. However, if you don't have an opportunity, you can still perform the work right through autumn and into winter. The first thing on the to-do list will be to remove the 3-year-old needles that are turning brown or have already turned brown. Apart from removing the dead brown needles, I'm also going to be reducing the number of needles at the tips to 10 pairs of needles, and this will help to balance the energy that is directed into the buds that will develop in spring. A tip that I'd like to share with you is that when you're working on a tree like this that can take several hours to complete, you more than likely are going to want to take a break during that time, and it's very easy to lose your place in the tree where you last left off needle plucking. So what I do is I leave my tweezers hanging on the branch that I was last working on. Then when I return to the tree, it's very easy to find that spot and then just carry on from that point. A moment ago I mentioned that I'm reducing the number of needles at the tips to 10 pairs uniformly across the tree. This is not an approximation of 10 pairs. I am actually counting the number of needles that there are. In the beginning, the progress is slightly slower, but you can speed this up as your eyes become used to seeing what 10 pairs of needles look like. You will also notice that sometimes I need to go back into a branchlet and reduce the needles further. And when I do this, I try to do it by removing needles uniformly around the terminal as well, moving from the back or furthest away from the point towards the tip so that you've got the youngest and the most vigorous growing needles. The movement of plucking the needles should be a fairly straightforward one. So in other words, you're removing the needle, pulling it straight backwards and then dropping it, not throwing it. That action wastes time. After working on an area for a while, you'll notice that it is much more open, which allows better circulation of air and also allows more sunlight to penetrate into the tree, which will strengthen inner buds or produce back budding. Once you've done with the needle plucking and thinned the buds down to 2 at each point, the next step is to start with the wiring and styling of this tree. And we're going to, of course, start with the lowest or the first branch. When styling conifers, I prefer to use copper due to its superior hold. Always try to avoid wiring needles onto the branches, as this kills the needles and then those dead needles can harbor pests. I like to complete wiring an entire branch before I start positioning the branches into the shape of the pad that I'm looking to produce. If you need to make simple changes to the angles of branches, say for instance in this case, a wire stay can be extremely useful. Applying a thicker strand of copper wire would of course accomplish the same task, but sometimes the application of the wire can be rather destructive to branches with extremely old bark on it. Always angle the tips of branches slightly upwards towards the sun. It's roughly in a 45-degree angle, but of course that's just a guide. Try to space the tips of the branches out so that they all receive more or less the same amount of sun. Using a pliers to apply thicker gauges of wire will certainly conserve the condition of your fingers. Wire which is not properly anchored often results in a seesaw type of action when you try to manipulate the branches. Sometimes in order for buds to be better positioned, the branch needs to be twisted. In a case like that, it is good to have planned your wiring in such a way that the twisting happens to tighten the coils of the wire rather than loosening it, so that the branch is always supported by the wire. The apex is very often the most challenging part of the tree when you're doing the first styling. Once you've completed the apex using the branches that you have available to you at this time, very often the apex may even look a little bit sparse. However, you can expect that new buds will develop and make available new branches to include in the apex and increase the ramification. If you found that content helpful and you'd like to thank me for it, please do so now by clicking the thanks button just below the video. I was extremely happy with the way that the tree turned out after this initial styling. However, I'd like to go over a few of the finer points of the design and what I would like to see developing in the future. The negative space just above the primary branch is a little bit too big, so I would like to bring a branch down from the apex and create a new pad with it, filling in this space. There's also too much negative space on the opposite side of the tree, and to solve this I intend to develop a branch down from the apex and create a pad with it. The first right branch is obscuring a portion of the trunk. I was able to reduce it, but not sufficiently. In future stylings I hope to be able to reduce it further.